This is Steve Birmingham with Intellius. Today we'll be introducing you to our job automation product for both Cloud Suite and S3 payroll, and how this product can help your organization simplify your job processing tasks. Feel free to ask questions throughout this presentation. There should be a chat window. Chad Mitchell, who will be presenting on this subject, will be able to answer those probably toward the end of the presentation. First, I wanted to let you know who we are, who is Intellius. We are an Infor Alliance partner and leading provider of web applications like you're about to see for the Infor community. Our software delivers applications that help organizations save time and money by creating greater efficiencies. We're headquartered out of Dallas, but have a main hub in the Chicago area. We've been in business since 1999. Dating back to around that time, Intellius originally pioneered this web technology for the then Lawson community. All right. Next slide is going to talk about what job automation is. A brief overview. Chad will then be diving much deeper into it. Job automation simplifies job processing for different job runs that include payroll and AP. The application utilizes existing Infor business rules and works seamlessly in your browser to allow you to run all or multiple jobs sequentially. Through here, we're going to let Chad go through more details on each of these, but pay attention to, of course, the key features, which is one, it now is available on GHR Infor payroll, as well as continued being on Infor Lawson payroll. You will be delivering your jobs timely and accurately. You'll be able to automate parameters and able to track progress for payroll. It'll also verify job completion. And with the Job Automation Designer tool, you can build unlimited automations through your administrator and not IT. I think that is fantastic. Why job automation? Very simple, very easy to use. It's self-evident. It doesn't require any specialized training. It will reduce your cost of operation by increasing productivity and providing far greater data accuracy. Because this program applies the same job process every time, it virtually eliminates all data errors. Additionally, there is no additional hardware needed to run Intellius applications. And when I mention in this bullet rapid deployment, our implementations are done in weeks, not in months. The next slide. Simple return on investment to let you know that our solutions save organizations time and money on their ERP business tasks. Each of our clients have reduced their operational costs with our applications, with many realizing tangible returns in under a year. So this product that you will be seeing here saves organizations time and money through the creation of greater efficiency. It's going to consolidate complex tasks, and tasks that took days, hours, can now be done in minutes. You're looking at just a snapshot of some of the organizations that utilize this job automation tool. So at this time, I will again thank everybody for joining. Remind everybody that this will be done, this will be recorded, and we will have a replay for you. So I am going to hand it over now to Chad Mitchell.
Great, thanks, Steve. Welcome, everyone. So me and my team about 20 plus years ago developed this product in the Service Bureau to basically run a ton of payrolls and for a specific client. Those clients were running 300 payrolls a day. And so we developed a product for them. And then as the years progressed, we have pushed this product out to all the other Lawson and Infor clients that are running, maybe 1 or 2 payrolls a month. But with the complexity of payroll, it really does simplify our users' operations. These are just some of the automations that you can create from this job automation tool, and specifically with payroll being the most arduous task in the Infor space. It is what's used the most, but other clients have developed things like streamlining supplier chain management in the PO, AP, and IC system codes, closing out GLs. Some other clients used it to simplify their ACVR invoicing. A lot of other clients have done AP check runs with it as well. So they'll do both payroll and AP check runs, and also simplifying the LP processing. So I'm gonna speak both of Lawson and Infor. Lawson being the S3 system, the version 10, and then we'll be going into the GHR Infor system as well and showing that product. And so in a typical Lawson S3 payroll, you have to go through all these different forms, add the jobs, submit them, wait till they complete, go through the process of validation of the completion, look at the reports, and go to the next job. And you might have 20 or more of those jobs in a payroll. Some of our clients have more than 150 jobs in a typical payroll. And that takes 3 or 4 days during the month to actually complete an entire payroll. And so our solution was to create a simple form for the user to fill out with only the pertinent information for that particular payroll that only that user would know. Everything else we use logic to fill out all the other parameters in all the other forms. So the user fills out the form on the left, hits continue, and then there'll be displayed a screen that shows all the jobs that will run and the process of going through them as they go through the completion cycle. And this is the view of what the job automation looks like in the Lawson S3 payroll. In the GHR, very similar. The fields are a little bit different. In GHR payroll, we don't use Lawson tokens anymore. They use business classes, and they do actions upon those business classes. But it is the same type of theory of where you are actually going through a step in a process to complete that process and going to the next step. And in payroll, I mean, it's very similar in the S3 world to the GHR payroll world. In addition to those 2 products of the job automation, we created the Job Automation Designer, which allows for clients to have autonomy for changes to their automations going forward after we implement. So they can go into them, make changes to each of the steps, the different parameters that might need to be filled out, add new jobs, create new automations. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give 2 different demonstrations. One's going to be in the S3 Lawson payroll, and then we're going to go into the GHR Infor payroll and run both those with the automation product. So on your screen, we have basically a Lawson S3 version 10. I'm going to go ahead, add some time records to the system real quick. This is not part of the payroll system, but this is, I need to be able to key in some time to actually run a payroll. So let's go ahead, add 80 hours, standard hours for a group of employees. And then with that group, we're going to run that payroll. So we have a bookmark on the left, basically allows us to then select job automation run. I'm going to select the automation I want to run, which is the normal biweekly. Hit continue. These parameters that are on the screen are all driven by the Job Automation Designer. So you can specify what you want to put on the screen, which will then be fed into all the different jobs. Let's go ahead and click, select that period end date that we just keyed in. Continue. You'll have a listing of all the different jobs that will run, and bear note. You can select which one you want to start at, hit the continue button, and the process is going to go through. We got 27 steps in this particular payroll that has to be completed. And so a lot of these are different reports. Some of them are update jobs, but the user can basically just fill out that simple form, hit submit, and then sit and wait and watch these jobs complete. As they're waiting, you can click on any of these different reports. It's going to launch a separate tab, and then you can validate any of the reports coming through. If any of you guys have questions as we're going along, go ahead and raise your hand, or you can use a chat window and I can answer those questions. So the S3 product is an on-premise product. So we do actually do an install on your infrastructure inside the same Lawson app server, web server that you have. It doesn't require any additional hardware. And again, like Steve said, it's about a 3 to 4 week type of implementation to complete maybe your typical payroll. As it's going through this, you can see some that are involved in payroll. You can see some of the common tokens or jobs out there, the PR140, the PR160. We can run custom jobs as well. Those defined in the job def. You can see we have a couple custom jobs here. I'm gonna go ahead and launch my PR140, my calculate earnings report. And you can see these are the hours I just keyed in to the time entry form. It's going to go through here, go through. We also allow you to put breakpoints wherever you want in the application. A breakpoint is a stopping point in the application that allows you to go through data validation prior to continuing on. It's important to do this so you don't go past a point of no return and have to go through a payroll reversal, which is quite an arduous task in itself. So we're going to go ahead, let's just say the PR140 looks good, and I'm going to hit continue, and it's going to go through and complete the rest of your payroll and give you a notification at the end. As that's running, I'm going to give a quick demonstration with another tab of the Job Automation Designer. We'll just go into one of the payrolls. Here is where we set up all the different types of automations out there that you might want. Payroll, benefits, we got AP. We can do a segregation of duties. So we can actually deliver these as bookmarks so that all you have access to is maybe the payroll type of automations, and maybe another person only has access to the AP type automations and so forth. You define where, the automations in this particular form. Then you can let's go ahead and define what's going to be on the screen. So I basically can define the different fields that will be on the screen that the user will fill out. Maybe they're going to be drills, maybe they'll be drop downs, selections. Some of the values might just be hidden on the form. But what we do is then we take all these different values and variables, and we're going to use those to actually populate the actual forms, the jobs. So if you look at the job setup, drop down, and I'll look at, I don't want to copy anything. I want to jump in, go down to a PR140, the earnings and deductions calculation. You can see that I'm basically specifying the field and how it's going to be populated with a variable. And that variable is going to be something that the user is going to input, or it might be a hard value that I'll be populating that same value every time. But again, this alleviates the need for users to have to go through into each one of these forms and populate this information before running. Let's go back. So I'm going to basically specify all the different jobs that will run in a specific automation. And then we're going to go into the run setup, and we're going to specify the order that those jobs are going to run in. You can see here, I can put conditions on those running. So maybe I don't want them to run every payroll, very similar to maybe a PR, a PR 195 accrual. Like what if I just want to run that on the last monthly payroll? So if that last monthly payroll, that value is set to yes, it'll actually run that PR 195. So I can do that. I can specify different queues that the application will run in. If it's going to be successful, I'm going to verify the Lawson system to make sure that there was no errors on that particular job before continuing on. You can specify the different print reports that will show up. I'm going to scroll over real quick. The user verify field, basically, if I want the application to stop before going on, I can specify that I want a breaking point so the user verifies. You can see here on the PR, the payment print job, I'm going to go grab the bank file to populate the next receipt, next check number, so the user no longer has to do that in the application. And then also what we have is what we call post calls. These post calls are basically all sorts of things. I can email out notifications that a job is going to be, that whatever text I want. I can analyze the print files for any data that's coming off of those print files. I can archive off the reports or do analysis. So that's all included, as well as things that happen after that job. So what we're trying to do is create an all-inclusive place where you put all the different actions that you would do in a payroll into one single application. So once I specify the order that the jobs will run in, then you can actually go through and run an automation in the other tool that I was just showing you. So let's jump back to that tool, and you can see the automation is complete. So all 27 steps completed while I was given the demonstration of the Job Automation Designer. And that's how easy payrolls are for the clients that have implemented our particular product. Now, again, I just showed you the Lawson S3 version of the job automation, or what supports the Lawson S3 payroll. And so what I'm going to do now is dive into the GHR product, the Infor GHR. So we'll jump. I'm going to increase the size for everybody to be able to see this. So we got our Infor GHR payroll. And so for those that haven't really seen this, this will be kind of a good introduction. Those of you that are still in the S3 Lawson payroll. Again, this is the GHR Infor GHR payroll application. So what I've done here is I've entered in basically some time records in batch. So I have this batch 4, and I've entered in 4 different time records into the system. You can enter in time records via your time entry system and interface them over. You can key them directly into the system as well. So you have the opportunity to do all those kind of things. However, I just keyed them in lieu of time to be able to show this application. So they're currently in batch. And what I'm going to do is in the cycle processing, we can see we're going to be processing a bi-weekly application. So, and we're going to be doing that with, again, the job automation. So let me increase the size here a little bit. So one big difference on the GHR, the the job automation that supports GHR. It is all run in the cloud. There is no on-premise installation, so it is run on Amazon, and it is linked into your Infor GHR system. So I'm going to log in. We do create username, password on the Intellius application. And then what you can see here is our application is now asking for permission to control the GHR application. So I'm going to allow it. And then very similar to the S3 product, I'm going to go ahead and select V11 demo payroll. That's the one I'm running. And for the time records, all right, the check date that we'll be using is 4/18. So organization 1, I'm going to pull in that payment schedule. Again, very similar to the S3 in the way that you're filling out this simple form with the information that is pertinent for that particular payroll. Go ahead and hit continue. And then what you'll see, I'm running, again, a very simple payroll in GHR. But again, these are all the different tasks that will happen. You no longer have tokens in GHR. Again, they are basically business classes and actions. And so I'll go ahead and select the starting point. I'm going to assign taxes first. I also can do IPAs in here. I can add as many IPAs as you need, and we're checking to see when the IPA is completed before continuing on. So that is another thing that you'll be doing inside your GHR, is adding IPAs to accommodate all sorts of custom functionality that you might need in your application. Go ahead and hit continue. And very similar to the S3 product, you can see that we're going to add each particular action against a particular business class. And when we still call them jobs, but in the Infor GHR world, it is, we got an error. Let's see what our error is. Okay, so in this particular case, we didn't have to calculate overtime. So what a particular user would do at this point is skip the current job. So I'm going to go ahead and skip, and then we'll go ahead and continue. That is interesting. Let's go ahead and take a look at why we got that error. So you can see in cycle processing, I'm going to do an inquire refresh. So it's I am going to make sure that calculate overtime. Not sure why I would have gotten that error. So I'm going to go ahead and relaunch this real quick. Again, working on a demo system, you never know what kind of issues you might have. There we go. Calculating overtime, not sure what that error was about. You can see in cycle processing. Okay, so it was completed. Back to the Infor GHR system. And you can see it was completed in our application. So one of the nice features of one of the many nice features of the job automation inside to support the GHR payroll is it automatically creates these reports for you. So, or whatever reports you want. That is one clear difference that you'll see between S3, the Lawson S3 payroll system, and the Infor GHR. The S3 automatically created those reports for you. The GHR does not. So it will, again, automatically create these reports for you. If you want reports off of GHR, you have to go navigate and create those reports for yourself. So, I can launch these reports directly from the application, very similar to what you saw with the S3 product. This was just the calculating the overtime. Let's go ahead and continue. I'm going to lock payroll. If you jump back over to this screen, you can see that it's locking right now. And now it's completed, and now it's running the calculate payments. So if I inquire again, you can see that calculating in payments is now running. Again, as an end user, I'd want to click on those payments to make sure everything looks good. It launches a window that shows me that report. So everything looks, as a payroll administrator, I would want to look at this report, make sure everything looks good. And if it does, then I'm going to go ahead and continue the automation. Next thing that would happen would be printing the checks. And again, our application automatically goes and grabs the next receipt, next system check, and next receipts, and puts them into the form. Let's jump back into the Infor GHR application, and you'll see that right now it's updating on the printing payments. And now we're complete here. I'm going to jump back here. Our application validates against the Infor GHR system every few seconds, so it will be showing that it's completed here in a minute or another few seconds, and then it will be stopping at the next breakpoint. Oh, there we go. It actually finished with checks, and now we're going through the closed payroll report. So if you jump back to the Infor GHR system and I inquire, you can see that I'm closing the payroll. It's updating now. I'm going to jump back to the Intellius job automation. Again, we're in a running status. So that is now completed as a draft. And you can see this is completed as a draft as well. I call it the report. You can click on here, see your payroll distributions. And as everything looks good, I'll move it from draft to final. When we hit continue, it's going to go through the running. I'm going to jump back to the Infor GHR system, inquire. You can see now it's updating. And now that closed payroll is complete. And this should show completion in the next few seconds. And as that's going through, what I'm going to do is I'm going to divert as that's running, and I'm going to show the job automation designer that supports the Infor GHR payroll product. And so very similar to the S3 product, what you'll see is we have jobs and run setup. But on the job setup, what you'll see, it's a little bit different. So instead of jobs, you'll see business classes. So we got our business classes and our actions against those particular business classes. So if you look at the calculate overtime, my business class is the payment schedule, and my action against it is called calculate overtime. So very, very similar to the S3, where a calculate overtime is a PR132 token. So instead of tokens and jobs, we're again using business classes and actions for the payroll run. Calculate payments. Instead of the PR140, we're using the business class payment schedule, and we have an action against it called calculate payments. When we calculate payments, we're filling out the calculate payments action with different fields, and we're going to specify filling those fields out by certain variables that the user is going to input. So on this particular one, we have our HR organization, payment schedule, check date, deduction cycle, and then we also have another field, PRM HR organization, that was required as well. As we're filling out these different fields on the on that particular action, we can manipulate the value prior to doing that. So if the check date has to be in a certain format, or in this particular format, it has to be in year, month, day. So we have to format that before it goes into the before we fill out that action. So that is kind of what it feels like in the GHR world, Infor GHR world, using actions in business classes. I'm going to, once the jobs are set up, we're going to go to run setup. And the run setup, again, very similar to the S3, where we specify the order that each one of these steps will need to take place. So each action and business class. And so we are specifying that business class action, and then also verifying when that business class is completed. So, we'll look at the payment schedule for certain flags to make sure that it was run correctly. On other tasks, we might be looking at maybe the PFI work unit business action, business class, for completion. And so we have a lot of different ways for validating that a business class and action was completed successfully. In addition to that, we can create as many print files as you need. So we can create those print files. And what we do is we basically build out the action to create the print file to then display it on the screen. So I'm going to jump back to the payroll, and you can see now that the close of the payroll is completed, and then we also did the post. So, and then jumping back to the Infor GHR, if I do an inquire at this point, you'll see that that entire payroll cycle is cleared out. Everything is completed on the different tasks for that particular payroll. All right. Let's see. I can't find my chat window. So that pretty much concludes the webinar for automating the payroll process, both in the S3 and Infor GHR applications. I would love for you to ask questions, but for some reason our chat window is not working. So let me see. Yep, it is not working. So in lieu of that, I'm going to jump back here. I'm going to put up both Steve and my email addresses. We'll leave those up for you. If you want to write those down or and send me an email of any questions that you might have on these two products, be happy to answer them as quickly as we can. Again, thank you all for joining us today and have a great day.